All right, we are live. Happy Monday, everyone. We are live. Well, most of us are in Hawaii. Some of us are on the mainland, and we have the pleasure and the honor to have Dr. Watts with us today. Dr. Watts, I'm so grateful that you said yes, and you're giving your precious time to for us to be able to talk a little bit about the science behind a lot of these amazing products that we all use. And I would love for you to give a little bit of your background, your story, how you ended up being part of doTerra. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I so originally started out as chiropractor, and then I transitioned into functional medicine. And when I did that, I not on purpose, it just my practice just kind of started filling up with thyroid patients, a lot of Hashimoto patients. And the more I dug into that, the more you realize you're dealing come with a lot of other things like detoxification, gut issues. So I kind of really started specializing in, aside from thyroid, is organ function, but really detoxification and gut health, which were two really big keys. Sold my practice and came just outside of Kansas City back in 2019, and then at the end of 19, and then beginning of 2020, a company called Cellcore Biosciences, which is a detoxification company, brought me on, and I helped grow that company from basically 5 million a year to 50 million a year within 3 years. And really it was about just taking these complex ideas and really simplifying them down into just simple truths that are easy to understand, and then creating simple solutions to go along with that. So people didn't have to, scour through all the products and figure out what to do. It's just like, boom, if you're looking for this solution, here's a health support solution here. So I created a lot of protocols over there, and then that company did really well and exited to private equity. And I stayed on for about another year, and then it was time for a new challenge. So took some time off, actually kind of semi-retired, and then about 4 months later, doTerra came knocking on my door, and the more research I did on doTerra and their commitment to their sourcing commitment, their ingredient commitment, the quality of the products, just their overall mission and how many lives they affect and truly transform before even a single bottle of oil is sold. There's many farmers all over the world whose lives have been completely changed by this amazing company. And that's kind of what struck a chord with me. I'm like, all right, they're committed to making good quality products, and they're committed to changing lives. Like that kind of completely aligned with where I wanted to be. So now I've been here for, I think I started at the end of October. And so it's been about 5-6 months. And so, now I'm just doing a lot of these kind of things, little calls. So I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. I saw you. I saw you through corporate, some of the trainings, and then our sweet, amazing appliance, James Bybee and Roxanne Bybee, brought you on in their training. And that's when lots of different light bulbs went off when you're speaking. And not only we are all representing something that, does good for humanity, but also for the planet, but it also has all the data to back it up. So, and I think that is what makes it like it's the cherry on top. And that's why I love bringing professionals like you to talk about the data and the science. We love the energetic benefits of all of the stuff that we do. I teach yoga, meditation, and I think it's beautiful, to bring more of that ether into the work. But I think also that the science and the data are the base of everything. It's the foundation. And so we're very much in love with the MetaPWR system. I was part of the testing group of the 200 people that got to test it out before it went on the market. And I had incredible results. More, I would say, mentally, cognitively, emotionally is what I really felt with the MetaPWR system. But then, consequently, my body showed it too. And after having babies and being a mom, I think, our metabolism is a little bit different. And so that was a game changer for me. So that's something that I inspire and push people to do is, if there is anything in our product line that I tell people, start with this and then we go from there, is the MetaPWR Advantage. And that is the reason why I asked you to be on here today, is give us a little bit of the data and the science and some of the nuggets that we can understand even more the power of this MetaPWR Advantage and the system.
Yeah. So MetaPWR Advantage is I mean, we obviously have quite a number of products within the MetaPWR line, but MetaPWR Advantage is a system that is really awesome. It combines, the power of marine collagen with Inamin and like 10 other different synergistic ingredients to help target cellular integrity and health span. So it's a major powerhouse. So with this one here, the ones I like to really focus on when we talk about MetaPWR Advantage is a couple different things. One is how this product can replace vital collagen that your tissue needs to support natural production of NAD+ in your body. So in essence, it helps you slow the signs of aging, with these 12 synergistic ingredients that MetaPWR Advantage gives to your cells. So it's really awesome. It's amazing. You definitely need it to support cellular integrity. The results, when you listen to different people, everybody has their own testimonials of how they do it. But I mean, just from what we know scientifically, what collagen can do, especially with what we have. Like if you really look at our product, and if you want, you have this. I can even share a couple of slides if you want.
Yeah, totally.
Let me
Up so people know what we are talking about, because a lot of us are familiar with it, but there's a lot of us that are not. I think you have the ability to share your screen, your entire screen, if you'd like.
Yeah, let me pull it up here. Let me get to the slide.
Yeah, and while you pull this up, would you, Christina, Teddy, DJ had an amazing experience with the Advantage. If you'd like to share a little bit about what happened once you started using it, that would be awesome. DJ, your story to me was one of the most inspiring ones, because DJ is super fit. He's on it. He can tell when things are different. He measures things and very precise when it comes to his fitness and supplementation. So I was so surprised actually when you called me. It was like the third day, and you're like, I feel a difference in my cardio, and I was impressed. So how's your experience with that, DJ? Were you expecting that?
I do my best to not go into it with expectations, right? Because I think I never want to underestimate the power of a placebo effect, right? So I never want to go into it and be like, I know for sure this is going to help. So because of that encouragement, I'm more likely to want to run faster, feel better because I'm trying to prove a point. So I'll do my best to say, you know what, let me just go ahead and take it and I'll just do my normal workout. I'm not changing anything about it. But yes, I definitely did notice after like the first few days that my running just seemed a little bit farther. I wasn't getting quite as gassed. And for someone like me who's been doing fitness for nearly 20 years now, I noticed a lot of the small idiosyncrasies on how my body changes. Like I know how workouts should feel when I do them back to back. And so it is one thing to say, cool, maybe just that one day I felt a little bit better. But the next 2 days, even after that, so 3 days total, everything felt like I had a little bit more of a push. Now, I didn't change anything else in my diet whatsoever other than just taking the MetaPWR. So for me, I'm like, maybe it's mental, but it seems like it's a slight net positive in the least. And for someone like me, that means a lot, right? And I've been taking it ever since, and I feel fantastic. So I would say that the average person maybe who isn't in the gym at all, who doesn't work out, if anything, it should encourage them to want to move a little bit more, be a little more active, right? Maybe go a little bit longer on the walk. So I'd say overall, it's an absolute wonderful remedy.
That's so awesome, man. I was super impressed when you told me that. I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. Because I see that a lot of all the people that I have had the honor to help and guide them through this journey, they've always given me really positive feedback. And it's fast. It doesn't take long. And I think the superstar is the NMN, right? I would say. Dr. Watts, were you able to share your screen?
I'm not going to be able to, like, it's, I have to go in and change computer settings, and this is a doTerra computer, so I have to have IT do it. So I don't have the permissions, unfortunately, to share my screen, but it's okay. You can pull that back up and we can talk about the advantage. So when I'm talking about advantage, I hit like 4 of the really big points about advantage is that it promotes healthy biological aging and improves health span, right? The other one is it improves cognitive function, supports lean muscle and cognitive tissue, and improves skin elasticity and firmness. So it's an amazing product. If you look at it, if you look at some of the highlights about ours compared to other collagens that might be on the market, is that our product has 9 unique collagen types in it. And we'll go through those in a second, but it also is 12 times more bioavailable. So when you look at any kind of product, you always want to look at the ingredient list and you look at how many milligrams are in it or micrograms or whatever it is you're taking. But just because it has may have a higher amount doesn't necessarily mean you're absorbing all of that. So it all kind of really depends on what you're pairing that with, so your body can actually utilize it and absorb it. So it's a pretty awesome product. And if you want, we kind of talk about those 12, or not the 12, the 9 different collagen types, which is pretty cool. So we have, some only have a few different ones. Like here's an example. Other collagen products on the market, whether it's land or marine sources, doesn't really matter. They typically contain a tripeptide content of between 15 and 35%. And MetaPWR Advantage is 70%, which is pretty awesome. So we have these different peptide types. So we got collagen type 1, which is related to skin beauty. Collagen type 2, which is, protection. This is like cartilage. Type 4, that's like your dermis, epidermis. So like, it's still dealing with your skin. Type 5, you got type 1 and 2 collagen in there. It's helped really to stabilize that structure of type 1 and type 2. Type 6 you have, which is for basically with muscle function and cell membrane inhibiting. So really trying to help inhibit that cell apoptosis, which is like apoptosis is when the cell kind of like dies on its own. So it helps to maintain healthier cells longer. And then you got type 9, which is cartilage, growth plates, joints, vertebral discs, which is huge, especially as a chiropractor. As we age, that's one of the things we see is those discs. Oftentimes, you see it on a lot of x-rays when you start looking at people who've had maybe certain careers or at a certain age, and you really see the spacing between their vertebrae shorten. And many times, or sometimes you'll see when that spacing's gone completely and they've lost all of that, that disc in between, and they have fusion. And so when you have healthy disc, you have healthy movement. And when you don't have a healthy disc, that can lead to nerve issues, nerve pain, pinching of the nerve. That can also can lead to, discs, like when you're getting these joints that are combined together. So now you're not having the mobility that you would normally have. So there's just so many amazing things about the MetaPWR Advantage that, you could just go on and on. And if you brought 10 people in here to talk about what it does for them, I bet you all 10 would have probably a different story on what it's done for them. So at the end of the day, what I try to focus on is an amazing collagen product, has all the other, things that have been paired with it. If you notice, we have liposomal vitamin C in there. I'm a huge vitamin C guy. And liposomal technology, for those that don't understand that, you have a much, much greater absorption rate with liposomal technology than you do with just a regular, water-based supplement that people take. So meaning you can take a lot less vitamin C and you'll still have greater absorption than taking a lot more of a water-soluble vitamin C, which oftentimes, you can urinate out about up to 70% of that water soluble. So just an overall awesome product, especially if you're getting your day going, whether you work out, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you work white collar, blue collar, doesn't really matter. it really has an effect on many parts of the life. So, and we're just getting started. That's just the very first product. That's MetaPWR Advantage. And so, as we move in if you want to, we can move into some of the new stuff that have moved into the MetaPWR line. One of my favorites is the Mito2Max, right? So we've up-leveled our Mito2Max product, which is an amazing product. And we've done a couple of things. One, we've up-leveled it by including an absolutely amazing research ingredient, which is called PQQ. Okay, and PQQ, if you want to look it up, you can look it up and you can say the whole word. But if you Google PQQ and mitochondria, the research will come up. It's one of the only known botanicals that has been clinically proven to increase mitochondrial biogenesis, or in other words, one of the only botanicals to be clinically proven to increase mitochondria. And so that's great. And whenever I have these conversations, I kind of start with that about PQQ. And then I wait to just kind of see the eyes of the room when I say, mitochondrial biogenesis or increasing mitochondria. And then the very next thing I follow up is, do we know what mitochondria is, right? Because if we don't even understand what mitochondria is, it's probably not as exciting for you, right? So I always break it down even smaller. And I really explain what mitochondria does and how our body creates it. So if you've been on some other calls, I try to make it super simple. So you may have heard this already, but I basically have this analogy as like the fire pit, right? And if you take a fire pit, you got three main components of a fire pit, which is the rocks that make, the wall of the pit. You have the logs, and then you have the fire, which is the energy, right? Now think about a cell. We'll say the rocks are the cell wall, okay? The logs are the mitochondria. And what do the logs create? Well, the logs create energy, right? Or mitochondria creates ATP, which is cellular energy, which we need for everything, right? We need just doing this is ATP. And it's different, this product here is not people think energy, they think energy drink, they think stimulant, caffeine, completely different. This is actual true cellular energy when your body, when mitochondria creates ATP. So what happens when we throw more logs in the fire or more mitochondria in the cell? We'll get a bigger fire, or we'll have more energy, right? So the more mitochondria we can create, that means the more potential for ATP production we can have, which means more cellular energy. So what a pretty awesome thing to know that this Mito2Max has a known botanical that has been clinically proven to increase mitochondrial production. So really awesome product. One of the products I take every single day, first thing in the morning. Some people will take it first thing in the morning, and they may take it again in the afternoon if they kind of have that little bit of an afternoon lull, but awesome product. I'm not sure if you guys have anybody here tried the new Mito2Max yet, because I know it just was released a few weeks ago. Yeah. It's an amazing product. So, and then that's my main, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other really good ingredients in that product. When it comes to understanding, I like to go what I call like my product pearls or clinical pearls. And so the big product pearl, it's just like with Advantage, one of the big product pearls or clinical pearls is the NADH plus or the NAD plus and the NMN, that we've seen all sorts of different research coming out about that. That's the cool product pearl about that. Well, with the Mito2Max, the really cool product pearl is the inclusion of PQQ in that ingredient deck now. So a lot of great ingredients. I'm just trying to highlight some of the really cool ones that you can remember and that can be repeated when talking about this amazing product.
Can you see the comparison of the old and the new that I just shared? Is it visible?
It's not sharing right now.
It's not. Hang on. Let me try. Yeah, it's not letting me share my screen either. I don't know what's going on today. It's Mercury retrograde. I do believe in that. Yeah, but I love when you spoke about the PQQ, and that's something that I've shared with a few people that have been in the industry for a long time, DJ included, and I wasn't aware of it. And I started researching it a little bit more. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I know that we were all a little bit sad that we didn't have the ashwagandha, but the exchange is much more beneficial when it comes.
It is. And, if I can expound on that a little bit, the ashwagandha is actually going to be moved over to the adaptive line where it really belongs, right? And so to back, one thing I did leave out when we think of mitochondria here, because, you're talking about ashwagandha and the effects it has on the brain. Well, this is what mitochondria has effect on the brain, right? So there's estimated about that each neuron has about 2 million mitochondria. Well, we have estimated around 80 million neurons. So do the math when it comes to how much mitochondria we need for our brain and our neurons to have that cellular energy. And so to think that you would have some cognitive support with that would not be far-fetched at all as well, right? Or in most instances, maybe you just feel like your brain isn't as fatigued maybe as the day goes on, like almost like some people, you get to about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon and they're like, my brain's done for the day. You're going to have more cellular energy to help you last just longer in general. So it wouldn't be far-fetched to think that even your brain capacity is, if you're truly getting more mitochondria to the neurons, that you're going to be able to have better focus, support and focusing your brain throughout the day.
Totally. And also for adrenal support, I feel like Mito2Max was such a game changer for me. I talked to a few different friends that are in the industry too, and they focus specifically on adrenal health and metabolism. And they sent me a list of a few different botanicals and supplements that I should be taking. And I kind of cross-checked with everything that we have in LLV and Mito2Max. Basically, Mito2Max had all of the things that they asked me to take. And so that's when I understood the power of the Mito. And I've taken Mito2Max since I started with my journey in doTerra. And it's been, for me, for energy and not having that feeling that you crash at the end of the shift. I think that I would say that was one of the main reasons why. Yeah, I absolutely love the system. And it made so much sense that it was included into the MetaPWR system.
For sure. No, I think it was a great idea how they moved it over to the MetaPWR system. Definitely where it belongs. Because when I talk about the next product, I pair Mito2Max up with this other product as a really good athletic blend for myself. I have a number of athletes, and so my kids are all big sports kids. I've got son to play college rugby. I have a daughter going to play college softball next year, and then my youngest is another rugby player. And so having good cellular energy, having the ability to last longer and feel like you're performing at a high level is extremely important. So that's when the newest in up-leveling and the adding of what Alex did with the new recharge is pretty awesome. And so especially with the technology that's involved with it, as we know, the MetaPWR Recharge, is an amazing electrolyte drink mix, which obviously improves cellular hydration. It facilitates water transport between cells, provides a balanced ratio of what I think is 6 electrolytes, and it includes over 80 deep ocean minerals. But there's a lot more to it because there's the technology that's behind it as well. And one of the first things I like to talk about when dealing with this is going right into the liposomal technology. And so we kind of talked about that a little bit before with the vitamin C, but the recharge has liposomal technology. And so what that means is obviously you're going to have a high bioavailability and absorption with that. But within this as well, you have this micronized encapsulation that protects that really harsh environment of the GI tract. And it allows for a greater uptake and absorption. And so you're able to get less ingredient in there, but get better absorption and still make its way through that tract. And so once it gets through there, now you're looking at, all the different things. And so we can highlight a few big things, and we go back to these, product pearls. One of them is liposomal technology. That's a big one with the recharge, right? The other one is the deep sea minerals, right? That we have these, it's almost like over 80 or 75 trace minerals that go in there, along with those the real 4 key electrolytes: sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. But the cool ingredient that's in here that I like to really highlight is the fresh ginseng that is in this product. And so I was going to talk just a little bit about fresh ginseng and what it does, right? So first of all, it helps increase mitochondrial membrane potential, which I'll even go into why that's important with these electrolytes. And it has 2 times more potential than what like red ginseng would have, and 12 times more than what white ginseng would have as far as increasing mitochondrial membrane potential. So that's pretty awesome. But along with this is it really helps when you have the fresh ginseng, it helps with that mitochondrial production. And when you understand why is ATP important for that? Well, with the cell, you have say you're taking all these electrolytes, right? But you still have to get those electrolytes inside of the cell, right? And then we want to push some of the electrolytes that are in the cell out of the cell, because the body maintains its natural balance in the bloodstream with your electrolytes, right? But we still have to be able to utilize these electrolytes that we're intaking. So each cell has what's called like a sodium-potassium pump, and it stays, we'll just kind of make it real simple, it stays open on the inside of the cell. And what will happen is you'll have sodium will come in and bind. You'll have some spots in there where 3 sodium will come in and bind on the inside. But in order for the potassium pump to open up to the outside of the cell and allow for the sodium to leave and allow for the potassium on the outside to attach and come back in, ATP is important. So what happens is that sodium potassium pump is open, the sodium comes in, and then ATP comes up along next to that pump. We'll just say this is the pump, and it releases. So ATP basically has 3 phosphates, and it will release a phosphate, and that phosphate attaches to the pump and allows it to open. And then you get that transfer of sodium and potassium. But in order for that potassium to come back in, the potassium to come back in, that phosphorus then releases from the pump, allowing it to open right back up into the cell. And so think about every time you're going to be moving sodium, potassium in and out of the cell, what do you need? You need ATP, because you need that phosphorus to help that pump to open and close, right? And so that's why for me, I got 2 sports, hacks. My sport hack is for my kids, just because, I'm trying to get them, sometimes with kids, less is better. I'm going to pick my battles of what I can actually get them to take. But if it's an adult, if you throw Advantage and Recharge and Mito2Max together as like a pre-workout, even a post-workout, amazing. But say with your kids, like in my instance with my kids, just the Mito2Max and the Recharge in itself, have them take that before a game, or I'll have them take it at halftime. If they're playing like a real vigorous sport like soccer or rugby or football, where they're running constantly, I'll have them take it before, and I'll have them take it again at halftime, just because they've expended so much energy and they've clearly sweated out a lot of these electrolytes anyways. Plus, it's a much, much better source than trying to get it through like Powerade or Gatorade, which the Gatorade for sure has higher glycemic index than your average soda does. And most people don't realize that. They think Gatorade is the healthier choice from drinking soda. and I don't know if it's a healthier choice. It's just a different choice. And so, yeah, diabetes in a bottle, exactly. So if you can avoid having your kids, take some of these really sugary drinks just to get those extra electrolytes, and you can do it just by doing the recharge. I mean, massive changes just right there in their health, right?
100%. I have a comparison chart because people, one thing about the recharge electrolytes is the flavor. The flavor is really good. It doesn't have an aftertaste. It doesn't have that, because I've been using the electrolytes for a long time, and the other ones that I was using, because we didn't have recharge, it was always a little too salty for me. Like the flavor of it is a little bit extreme. But I still used it because I know that I need it, because I sweat a lot. I teach hot yoga, so I'm in the hot room, so we sweat more because we're in Hawaii, right? So it's hot. And so I'm so glad the flavor is different to the point where my kids take it. So before, the other ones, the kids would not take, and then now they're taking the recharge because of the flavor. So I think it's a big deal, especially for kids, because it is about the flavor too. What about the baobab extract? What do you have any pointers in that specific component?
Yeah. So the baobab tree is a tree that is found in Africa, and it is just really, really good at helping with absorbing and holding water. Obviously, some of the different environments in Africa have very harsh environments, and so that's one of the components that helps with water retention, as you're trying to bring in these electrolytes and bring more water into the cells as well. And so that's a really awesome one as well. I mean, really, you could break down and sit here and go over all the ingredients in there. What I try to, like I said, what I try to do is I try to find those little like clinical pearl or really like product pearls, because it's hard for many people to remember all of the amazing things. And if I can at least get them to remember one or two really cool things about it, and with the recharge, if I had to like narrow it down to two really cool things that are easy to remember, one is the liposomal technology for better absorption, and the second one is the fresh ginseng, which helps with mitochondria integrity as well, which, as we learn with the sodium potassium pump, it just pairs beautifully with the Mito2Max. And so, and then here's a great chart right here, competitor chart right here, comparing us to what else is out there. And LMNT is a really good brand too. It's a very popular brand I'm talking on the regular market. So to look at one of the more popular brands, which is a decent brand, and then you stack that up next to us, and it's, we clearly stand out from the crowd, even amongst other good products.
Yeah, before recharge was launched, that was what I used, the Element one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, again, flavor, my kids couldn't take it. It's the flavor is not up to par. And I wish the liquid IV wasn't taken, because really recharge is kind of like that. That's what it is. It is way more than just an electrolyte. And if people would understand the importance of just adding that into the water at least once a day, it will make a difference in your performance, which will make a difference in your cognitive and your energy and how you do things and how you show up in life, right? It's bigger than just, I'm just going to hydrate. It's so much bigger than that. And so when you talk about hydrate, it is the basis, just like breath, right? So you need to breathe and have good hydration for you to live well. So those are the very basic things. And for people that have a hard time just drinking water, plain water, this is a super trick, right? This is a hack. You just add some flavors into the water, and you're going to drink a lot more water like that. So awesome. So I love recharge. And Teddy is the queen of doing mocktails. So she already came up with the tequila, strawberry tequila recharge drink. That is like one of the best, funnest things.
I'm actually taking a break from alcohol I've been taking a break for about 4 months, but I like the lemon lime flavor. It definitely tastes like a margarita without the alcohol. It's got the little salt, you know, flavor, and yeah, I love it. I'm hooked, definitely. And can I just share a little testimonial with using the recharge? Like Pam said, I would drink just a ton of water. I never took any other electrolytes on the market because of the artificial colors and sugars, and just did without it. But unfortunately, I was drinking a lot of water, and I was getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom a lot. And since I've been consistently taking the recharge, my body is better hydrated, and I'm getting better sleep. More solid sleep. So. And that was a little bit of a struggle for me last year too with my sleep.
So awesome, and that gives us the perfect hook for the next one, which is one of the main ones. And right now, it is the talk of the town within doTerra because of the latest data that was shared with us on the Serenity sleep system. So, Dr. Watts, did you, when you learned about the Serenity sleep system, what was your impression? Like, what did you think about it?
So yeah, when I first learned about, and I heard about it at convention last year. So before they hired me, they said, hey, maybe you should come to convention, come see what we're about, which was good on their part because it was a pretty amazing event. That was a great recruiting tool. So I was there and I got to listen to about the whole Serenity system. And the reality of it is, I could touch a little bit on it, but I don't want to touch even too much on this. And I'll tell you why, because there's been more of the research that they've put together, Dr. Nicole and Dr. O, that because they released the initial research that they got last year. Well, they've been piling through more and more because there's so many data points that they checked in this epigenetic studies that they have some more really cool information that they're going to be sharing. And I think they're already, I think Dr. O just left. I think he's on the road for internationally for the next 2 weeks, sharing some of this new information. But at the end of the day, like I said, we ran an epigenetic study on it, and we had some pretty cool markers that came back. And probably the coolest thing for those that may have heard this before, but I believe it talks about setting back the epigenetic, clocks, right? For those that listen to this, I think they touched on this at leadership for a minute. And I'm going to see if I can find that slide he has.
Yeah, I think one of the most impactful pieces of information there, because it's pretty technical, and
it is.
We've all learned to fall in love with the technicality of it all, but at the same time, I just like to kind of deliver things so we can understand. But basically, this is what happened from what I've gathered. There are so many different little clocks, right? In our body, you have like the years that you age and your lifespan versus your aging biological clock. And there are the markers that they call, that is like a clock that shows you the aging of your brain, for example. That one to me was the biggest one that really made me be inspired to tell more people you need to sleep well. You just don't need just to sleep. You need to sleep well. And it went back 7 years. Basically, it reversed 7 years of your brain age in that group, just because they were using the system and sleeping well. I was like, what else do you want?
Well, you look at it, how much sleep impacts so many different systems, as well. So, I mean, if you don't get good sleep, there's a major component as far as weight loss. If you're not getting good sleep, you could have trouble losing weight. you do a lot of, your rest and digest while you're sleeping. You do a lot of your cellular repair while you're sleeping. And so if you're not getting good sleep or adequate sleep, so it's not even just getting, because some people are like, well, I sleep fine. And what the sleep studies showed is that this actually helps you get into that deeper sleep longer. So even though if you have the same amount of hours, if it's not good quality sleep, or you're not getting into those really deep REM sleeps, you can still wake up. People you hear about all the time, you're like, man, I sleep 8 hours or 8 hours a day, but I still wake up kind of tired, right? And so it's not just about the hours of sleep, it's the quality of sleep that is really paramount for all of these different like processes like healing, weight loss. You could go on with a number of different things that it does, but just in general, how do you feel during the day? If you don't get good quality sleep, you get your hormone production first thing in the morning as well. That's why a lot of people like to work out first thing. And so sleep is really important. It's more to it than, and I think some people go, well, I don't need to sleep. I don't need to sleep because I sleep fine. Or I don't have a problem falling asleep, or I don't have a problem staying asleep. But if they actually were to wear a watch or wear a ring or those things that really check to see what kind of quality sleep you get, you'd be surprised. Even myself, where I didn't think I had issues sleeping, when I had a, what's it called? I can't even remember it. I need to get a new one because it broke, but it's the ring that
The white noise.
Oura ring.
Aura, yeah.
And it captures a lot of different metrics, and one of them was sleep and sleep quality and how long you were in deep sleep, or it goes through all the different things of restful sleep and not restful sleep. And for someone like myself who doesn't ever take anything to go to sleep, I think, oh, I'm good with sleeping. And I look at the data that my ring's showing. I'm like, okay, I'm sleeping, but I'm not necessarily always getting good quality sleep. And so don't just think because you don't have to take something to fall asleep. Well, I don't take a sleeping pill or I don't take melatonin, that this isn't for you. This very well could be for you. And one of the first things I would do if you have questions about it is put on your Apple Watch or put on an Oura ring or any one of those other, things that check your sleep, that monitor your sleep and measure it, and then come back to yourself and look at it and go, okay, I may not need something to help fall asleep, but do I need something to help maintain good sleep? And you would probably be surprised, especially if you live in the United States and you're just, in general, we're exposed to more external toxins, environmental toxins, radiation. We're just exposed to a lot more things here in the US. And so those toxins definitely impact other things aside from just internal issues like organ issues and pathway disruptions. It also can have an impact on your sleep and your sleep cycles.
Yeah, and there is the highlight on the ZMIZ2 gene, right? That with the system, there was an up regulation of the specific gene that promotes the restful sleep that we are looking for and we want. And that they made the connection to, like you said, immunity, inflammatory response, and weight loss. I think that's a big thing. When we're doing, in fact, we also do some of the metabolic reset challenges within our groups. And we have one coming up starting in May, which is next month, for summer. So we're gearing up to get ready for summer. And DJ probably heard this many times. Summer bodies are built in winter. So it's summer, like, okay, I'm ready to get in my summer. But it's supposed to be a lifestyle, right? And that's the main message that we're always trying to convey is you have different tools and you have a lot of information that we have at our fingertips now, and a lot of data, a lot of science, and also you can measure that by how you feel. I feel like that is the most important marker, is how do you feel with it? Sometimes a lot of people come to me wanting the data, but then I also remind them, the data might say something and it might work differently when you start it. Or the data might say something that's not exactly how you feel, and then you feel better. So I think that's the best way of measuring if something is working for you, right? So we have the challenge that's coming up in May. We're going to be talking a little bit more about it next week. And so my invitation to all of you is make this a lifestyle. You know, it's not a magic quick pill. However, you know, the soft gels are pills, but it's just you are able to get these tools and then get into a lifestyle where it's sustainable. So you can do it every day, right? That's the idea. And one is not separate from the other. That's why I think, as you mentioned, Dr. Watts, you working with functional medicine, right? And now looking at foundational medicine is the way to do it. So do you want to expand a little bit more on that one versus
Yeah. So and I'll just kind of back up to kind of where I came up with this concept. So as we know, for those that are familiar with functional medicine, regardless of practitioner type, whether you're a medical doctor, a naturopath, chiropractor, acupuncturist, regardless of doctor type, functional medicine is treating the root cause of what's going on, not treating the symptom, right? And so I was doing that in practice, you know, and I always do comprehensive, about 8-9 pages of blood work before I get into any treatment program, and then we'll retest those about 4 months later. And I had a patient that I was getting ready for them. They were coming in. I think they were one of the first patients of the day. So I just had their file open. Beginning of the day, I was going through it, looking at their new blood work, and they weren't getting better the way I thought they should have been. And with this patient in particular, I kind of felt like I was chasing blood markers. And so I kind of stopped and said, you know what, I'm going to strip away everything I'm being taught, even from a functional medicine standpoint. And I got to go back to basic health in the body. What do I know? I know the human body is a self-healing organism. If the body and the organs are in an optimal, state, like they're functioning in an optimal state. Well, like I said before, especially in the United States, we're exposed to so many toxins, from glyphosates to molds to heavy metals. I mean, the list goes on and on to all the different toxins we're exposed to, and many of them in our foods. And so I started thinking, I'm like, well, before I even start treating anybody, I need to back it up. What happens when I give somebody a pill? Well, it goes into the stomach and it starts to break down, right? So the very first thing I'm like, well, then I need to make sure that they have good stomach acid, right? Because if they have acid reflux, which most of the times is hypochlorhydria, which is not enough stomach acid, they're not going to be able to break it down all the way. So when it gets into the small intestines where we absorb, we're not going to be able to absorb it all, right? And then if we don't have good gut health, we're not going to be able to absorb, even if we did break it down, or not as well as we could. And then even dealing with the liver and kidneys. And so I kind of came up with this concept back in around 2015. And I started teaching this actually at the last company I was at, that detox space. Before you do anything, if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to work on any kind of health challenge that you may be, self-treating or working with a doctor with, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that we have proper organ function. And so foundational health, where I would explain it, which at first I'd tell, as I'm explaining it, I see the functional medicine doctors go, wait, you do what? That sounds like a one size fits all kind of approach, and functional medicine is individualized. And I said, well, hang on. Foundational health or medicine, or however you want to call it, is the precursor to functional medicine. We're like all farmers. Everybody on this call, we're all farmers. We all farm a different crop, which is individualized, like functional medicine, right? But we all do the same thing to the field to get the field ready to plant the crops, right? We got to till it. We got to get rid of any weeds and stuff in there. We got to give it the right nutrients so that anything we do. So that's foundational, which is I got to go through and make sure that I have good organ function and that I've detoxed out any potential harmful toxins that may be still residing in my gut or kidneys or liver or wherever you may be experiencing issues. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have good liver function and gut function, I guarantee you won't have good thyroid function, because 80% of your thyroid hormone converts between those two organs, right? Which plays a major role in metabolism, right? Thyroid. Also you're dealing with vitamin D conversion, other hormones, estrogen, testosterone. And so if you don't have good, at the end of the day, you have to start with, let's make sure we have good organ function, step one, and then step two, now let's move into whatever we're doing. And so if it's like you said, if it's a good weight loss program, the next question you should ask yourself after you have good organ function is, and I'm going into a weight loss program, is, do I have good sleep? That's the first question I ask all of my weight loss patients. Do I sleep well? And if you don't, or you don't think you get good sleep, or you don't get good sleep, you need to address that, or that's another issue. Those are two big issues that will prevent you from losing weight. Sleep and organs just kind of putting along, maybe not functioning at an optimal level. And so two big things to really make sure are working well as you're moving into your weight loss journey or metabolism or whatever personal journey you're working in.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when you talked about foundational and functional, it struck a chord because that's something that we've been working on. Dr. Gabby wasn't able to join us here, but eventually I hope you both meet. And she does a lot of research for doTerra in Brazil. And she's always taught us about foundational health, and she called it the biological terrain because that's something that she learned long ago. She's been doing research for over 20 years now. And so we learned this whole idea of foundational health, and we created protocols for it during the pandemic, and it worked. So, and that was the beauty of it, is that it was not customized or unique to each person, but it worked for everyone. And so this gave me so much hope, to kind of have a tool where we can get the foundation covered, and then from there we can move on to more specific needs. And the funny thing, but not funny, but it's great, is that when we work on the foundation, then the specific needs kind of dissolved, so we didn't really have to go into the specific because everything else kind of adjusted.
Self-regulated. And that's one thing I left out. That's what I experienced with this first patient when I switched to this process with them. Is they had, what did they have? They had like 37 blood markers that were, all over the place. As a practitioner, you look at it and go, where the heck do I start, right? Because they had type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension. They have low vitamin D, thyroid issues, iron issue. You name it, it was all over the place. So you're like, oh my gosh, where do you even begin? And so when I did this approach with him, at the end of the 4 months, when we reran blood work, now mind you, we weren't treating any kind of specific condition. We were just setting the groundwork in this foundational approach of detoxifying and improving organ function. When we reran blood panels, he went from 37 markers down to 13 markers. And all 13 of those markers correlated to one issue, which ended up being alcoholism. But my point is this, all these other things that we thought were an issue weren't really an issue. His body just was not able to self-heal because his organs were so dysfunctional. And so all these other things, from his diabetes to his blood pressure to his thyroid, all these things started regulating on their own. And so what it does is it kind of erases all the white noise and really then gives you, okay, now I know what I really need to focus on from a functional approach now. Now it can be specific because I kind of got rid of all that white noise, and I don't really need to address any of this stuff because now with his good organ function, some of these pathways and some of these physiological processes are now kind of just, they're working now. We, just by getting good organ function and getting toxins out of the body. So it was a big light bulb moment at that time and completely transformed my practice. My practice dealing with autoimmune patients was on average between 8 and 12 months to get an autoimmune patient where they needed to, where their markers were good and their symptoms were gone. But after switching to this approach, what I found is after that 4 months because I did that foundational approach for about 4 months, just by getting really good nutrition and getting those organs working, about 60% of the patients never even moved into a functional phase. Their blood work was normalized afterwards just from doing that. And so my treatment times actually dropped down to like 4 to 6 months from 8 to 12 months by taking this approach.
So you basically built a business against yourself.
I did. I always tell people my biggest problem is I'm like, okay, I need to, well, it wasn't a problem because actually I had a 100% referral based business. I never spent a penny on marketing. But
great.
It was like, oh, yeah, I hope I get more referrals because my patients are getting better quicker.
But I think like a true health professional, I think that is the goal.
It is.
You know, I don't want to see you for the rest of my life. I want to see you for the time that we need to see you, and then you'll be good on your own. And that
I look at it as like, yeah, I'm here almost like I'm here to help guide you through your journey. So I'm here as a health professional to a few things. One, I want to educate you to let you know what you actually have going on. So if it's a thyroid or Hashimoto issue, I spend the time, like we're in a consultation, I'm on a whiteboard and I'm drawing out the thyroid pathway so they can walk out of there going, oh my gosh, I know how the thyroid works. I know what organs affect it. I know, I just feel empowered now that I understand what this problem is and how it works. And then the other part is helping them to make these changes and helping to guide them through these changes so that it's not a temporary change like doing a diet. It's permanent change where it's a lifestyle change so that after they're done coming through your program and working with you, they can continue on by themselves because now they're empowered. They have the understanding, the education of how to be healthy and how they can actually help their family to be healthy as well.
Totally. Yeah, it is generational impact for sure. Yeah, the way that we do things ourselves as parents, usually that's how the children will repeat, right?
Well, that's exactly because you look at, I mean, I'm not trying to like be negative or point something out, but if you've ever been in a store and you see, and it's quite common now, especially in the United States, where you see a 10-year-old kid who is morbidly obese, right? Which is, that's just not, it used to not be a thing really at that age. But then if you look at the parents that are with them, say, oh, well, it's, genetic. And it's like, well, it's more diet, it's more lifestyle habits that are being taught than it is genetic. Because I know people who have maybe parents that struggle with weight and their lifestyle is not the best, but the child, maybe they're a teenager and they have a really good lifestyle and they don't suffer from the same thing. So it's less of a genetic issue and it's more of a learned habit and lifestyle where my mom tends to cook some of the things that she grew up eating and that my grandmother cooked and the great grandma. So you tend to pass those habits because you can go through different races and you look and why are African-American and Native Americans more susceptible to certain diseases than maybe Caucasians or people from this part of the world or the Asian population is less susceptible to these kind of things. Well, you look at what do the diets look like, right, in these different populations. And they did a really good example of this where if you kind of take race kind of out of it and you look just at like one big population, like the Chinese. Have you heard of the China study that they did a number of years ago? And what they did is talking about one of the most amazing studies. If you have not seen this study, go read the study. It's the China study. So now instead of like in the US, we're a melting pot of many different races, which is what's amazing about our country. But then if you're really trying to get real data, it's not as precise as maybe say the China study where they only did it in China. But what they did is they pulled why are cancers in this region, prostate cancers in this region, way more prevalent than any other part of China. And why is this kind of cancer way more prevalent in this part of China? Well, they started going through and they started looking at all the diet and lifestyle choices that, this area is close to the ocean, so they have this kind of diet, whereas this is more inland and this is their diet. And they really kind of proved out the fact that it is more really diet and lifestyle that has a bigger impact on your health and longevity and cancers and obesity and metabolic issues. And so that just kind of proves it out, coming back to that whole foundational approach. Good organ function, good diet and lifestyle habits, being taught how to, not being taught how to go on a diet, but being taught how to change your diet. So that is a long-term lifestyle that you can teach your children and moving forward.
And it's enjoyable. I think once you find, for me, I've shared this before, my word for this year is sustainability, and not just when it comes to the environment, but sustainability to the things that I do every day that I feel I can do for the rest of my life, and it's enjoyable and there's no suffering involved. Because a lot of these programs, usually you have to not do this, not do that, you have to cut this out, not enjoy this. And sometimes these are things that are very important to you, and you can still do them, but with a lot more awareness around it. Then it's enjoyable. So I think that's the beauty of being able to have something that's long-term and sustainable, right? So, and it's possible. So that's what we do. That's our job. Me, Christina, Teddy, DJ, we all work doing this work, Dr. Watts, of course. And that is the gift that this lifestyle has been giving all of us, and will keep on giving to generations to come. Dr. Watts, thank you so much for your presence and everything that you've shared. We really appreciate your time. And my friends here, always here with me, thank you so much. I love you guys. Every Monday we're here. It's called Set the Pace, and this will turn into a podcast so you can listen to it later. And I'll see you here. We'll see you here again at next Monday. Aloha. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.